both to people and to machines. Lying to machines involves lots of different techniques. ARP poisoning is an effective way to intercept traffic, sniff, hijack, DOS network connections. It is a more effective way of hijacking connections because it allows you to see incoming and outgoing traffic in clear text. Now, H.D. Moore on bullet point 3, H.D. Moore stated that the other 250 servers of the ISP were still vulnerable after they fixed Metasploit.com. So, two things. Either they didn't care, or they said the other 250 servers aren't a target, so we're not going to fix it. That's embarrassing. And if anybody knows that ISP provider, please let me know after, because I never want to host my website with them. ARP attacks. Here we have a simple diagram of ARP spoofing. Corporate executives and managers think that this attack can't happen to them until they're on the front page of the Wall Street Journal or any other media outlet like Security Focus, and they say, oh shoot, I'm out of a job, basically. So here on the bottom, you see an easy way by using EtherCap, you could easily spoof server B. So when server A sends the traffic, the attacker intercepts it with 2, then decides to forward it on to 3 and to 4 to server B. Now, ARP attack demo. First of its kind human ARP attack. I need a volunteer to come up here. Raise your hand. Raise your hand in the crowd somewhere. Volunteer.
You got one right here.
No. Hold. Any girls? Any women? Everybody. No, not you. Not you. Any women, please. No. Oh, man. All right. Come up. Come up right here. Yep. He's sitting right
now,
here.
of course, we were going to, use laptops and try to do it through laptops. So we was like, nah, let's switch it up, because everybody pretty much knows how this goes and how easy it is.
Yeah, it's really easy to do it.
We wanted to do it in the human factor instead.
All right, so I'm going to be the spectator right now, and I'm going to walk you through the ARP spoofing. All right, so Anthony, gentleman here, he is server A. Okay, my brother's that. No, I want you to sit down. Go ahead, Anthony, sit down. Take a seat. I want my brother to stay up. So he's server A. My brother's the attacker. And the gentleman, what's your name? Adrian. Adrian is server B. So Anthony, server A, sends a packet over to Adrian. He just intercepted the money, the attacker, and he's going to forward on and manipulate traffic. And he's not going to give him the $10. He's only going to give him $5. And again, he's using EtherCap to ARP spoof it. So now what you want to do is probably send a password, hopefully your ATM password. You want to send it over again. And he is going to do it again, and he's going to send it over. Now, the last one what he's going to do is send more money. And what Kevin's going to do is he's going to decide that is kind of big. It got a lot of money in it. And he's going to DOS that gentleman's connection, and he's not going to receive anything. But give a round of applause for the gentleman. You get to keep it. You get to keep it, man. A little different. We don't want the just usual stuff. We're going to have another good one coming up. Back to the presentation. So, free money given away. You know the economy's hard now. So, ARP attack mitigation. So how do we mitigate these risks? Non-changing ARP entries? I don't think so. Don't even waste your time. This is too time consuming. It's unmanageable on a big scale network. You would just kill all your resources. DHCP snooping, we covered this on the latest slide. ARPWatch is an open source software that monitors the computer network, the network for ARP activity. It generates a log of IP address, MAC address pairings, along with a timestamp when the pairing appeared on the network. So I like it because it's free. Anything free, hey, that's all me. MAC flooding and cam table overflow attacks. Switches maintain a list called cam tables, which is this yellow thing here. This enables it to be sent, It enables it to send data to the physical port where the recipient computer is located. In a typical MAC flooding attack, the switch is flooded with packets, each containing different source MAC addresses. So here, what you see is just a regular switch. It's operating normally. So P1 sends data over to P2. Just regular conversation. And here we go. The attacker sends the MAC addresses onto the switch, and he decides to flood the CAM table, and it starts broadcasting just like a hub. Now, this is where the attack gets good. I chose Mac OS.
Excuse me, what?
Oh, sorry, Kev. We chose Mac OS to flood the switch with random MAC addresses, causing the switch to fail open in repeating mode. Hint, hint, this is when you want to have your sniffer running. Okay, so you just blast the network, and here you see a screen, backtrack. You could just load up backtrack and open up a prompt, type in Mac OS, and it just starts generating packets on the wire, as you can see here. Now, the result of the last slide made the switch to bleed out, which is the fail open mode. All incoming packets were broadcasted throughout the switch, and you can see the username, password, and so on and so forth. And you can use Wireshark, whatever you prefer. I use Cain Enable because I like it. And you could just catch more than just passwords, instant messaging, and so on and so forth. So the mitigation for MAC flooding and CAM tables is the same as the ARP attack. Some more advanced switches like Cisco and Nortel gives you the opportunity to set up protections against an attack with limiting the MAC addresses to that port. You can also set up a policy that if the port gets too many MAC addresses, the default is to shut it down, write a log, alert the admin with an email, and really it's up to the admin to find out. All right. The DHCP starvation attack works by broadcasting DHCP requests to a spoof MAC address. This is easily achieved with attacks like Yersinia or Gobbler. If enough requests are sent, the network attacker can exhaust the address base available to the DHCP servers for a period of time. Now, here you see Yersinia broadcasting DHCP requests with spoof MAC addresses and trying to exhaust the DHCP IP pool. And here you just launch the attack and it starts running. And the thing is, my niece is 8 years old. She's right over there. She could easily just do the same thing, point and click, and there's the attack. It's that easy and that fast. And it just generates a lot of all the traffic on there requesting IP addresses. And oh, yes, we do have a picture of that. Here you see the result of it. The Microsoft DHCP server, which we were running 2003, as well as, I know it's vulnerable on 2000. I haven't tested 2008 yet, Windows Server 2008. So I probably tested and posted on a blog. But as you can see, the scary thing about this is that once this is down, once this has crashed, you could set up a rogue server. And you could, if a request comes in, you could give them an IP address, put the default gateway as your own IP, and make the traffic start directing through you, which is kind of scary. And as you see, it's 100% full. This is the event viewer. What's bad about this is that even if you stop the attack, an admin has to go to the box and restart this service, which I think at 2 o'clock in the morning, the admin's not waking up and restarting it. All right, we got another demo. And like I said, it's point and click. So what we do want to do is, we are the DHCP servers, right? I think we should stand up for this. This money is the IP addresses.
Who wants IP addresses?
Who wants IP addresses? So if you run the attack of Yersinia that we just showed you, and you run it kind of easy, like point and click. So no, nobody wants to stand up. So what are we gonna do?
I don't know.
I don't know. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. We just gonna throw it into the crowd and give it out. And as you can see, most of the people picked it up. We didn't throw it too far enough. Just having fun. Yeah. As you can see, they aren't any more dollars, but there's a little catch to this. As you see my brother walking off stage. Oh, no, you got it right there. You got it right there. All right, as you see my brother walking off stage, he is the rogue server giving the IP addresses out because all the IP addresses are taken. So he's the rogue server. He's going over there. Let him give out IP addresses. You know, gas is $4. You know, I'm just trying to help the economy out and put money right back into the economy. You know, that's George Bush's money, by the way. He gave it to me in April. Yeah. Yeah. All right, DHCP snooping. Oh, let me swing it over. DHCP snooping restricts DHCP requests. But again, guys, if you can have the money, tell your IT manager to upgrade his switches. And guys, if you consult, this is a great way to make money. You could go to your clients and blast them. Blast them and say, hey, look, I'm just saying you should buy the switches off me, third party. And you put your money on it. It's a great way to make money as well. And it's vulnerable because a lot of small companies, mid-sized companies still have this old equipment. And you could easily make a pretty good chunk for you consultants out there like myself. So, where am I? Oh. Yep. What the heck is those clocks there? Don't know. The most obvious risks associated with CDP is information leakage. CDP is Cisco Discovery Protocol. By default, they're turned on. The CDP communicates amongst one another via clear text and unauthenticated. By claiming to be a phone, an attacker can reserve some electrical power, denying other valid devices from receiving power from the switch, which is sad, because then your colleagues ain't gonna have any phone, and they're gonna be upset at you. Another CDP attack that is still relevant is a vulnerability in Cisco iOS 12.1 and 12.2, which handle CDP announcements. You can receive all the device available memory by sending large amounts of CDP neighbor announcements to the device. And as you can see, we attacked Cisco iOS version 12.0, which was vulnerable to the denial of service, while residing on the same network segment as the targeted device. We flooded the switch. As you can see here, we were on port 2, switched on port 10. We ran, Yersinia has the capable attack, CDP attack as well. And as you see memory, where are we at here? I want to point to it. Memory allocation here. So we did that as well. And, you know, not much you could do, and it could be said about CDP, you know, countermeasures, except turn this shit off. The question arises is why it's turned on in the first place. You know, IP phones right now is very popular, but CDP is, you shouldn't have it on at all, you know, at all. So, if anyone out there knows why CDP is indispensable, after the, what? Yeah, I know that. That's what I'm saying. IP phones is popular, but shouldn't be that popular that I blast that, you know?
Try having 200 WAN links on a router and figuring out what the hell it is.
All right, so Anthony, you want to go?
Thank you, Marco. Can you guys hear me in the back? All right. Excuse me. Let me get my notes in over to you. Spanning tree protocol. that allows you to build a loop-free topology on your network that kind of looks like a tree. Beg your pardon?
Speak up.
Speak up, okay. The spanning tree protocol allows you to set up a loop-free topology on your network that is analogous or looks like a tree. So just to kind of give it a brief look, how a spanning tree protocol attack looks is it allows you to, an attacker, to spoof the root bridge of the topology. So the root bridge is when you have BPDUs or bridge protocol data units, they broadcast out to see who has the lowest ID. The one that has the lowest ID is the root bridge. So all these attacks are really just straight from the Yersinia man page. I'll just go over them pretty quickly. So you can send raw configuration BPDUs. I'll skip over some. You can claim the root role, which is a very dangerous thing, or claim another role as far as the topology is concerned. Or one of the more damaging attacks is a man-in-the-middle attack that can take place if you claim root roles in a dual home type of a situation, either when you have access to two switches to plug into, or one switch on a wireless network, another switch on a wireless network, and you have two wireless cards to effectively perform the same type of attack in a wireless type of a scenario. In this example, you see STP sending configuration BPDUs in a denial of service type of a role using Yersinia. So it's very simple. You just can, whoops, sorry about that. Going backwards? I'm confused. We ran out of money, so. So you have your radio button where you can send configuration BPDUs in a denial of service scenario. So we're going to talk about some mitigation here. So the spanning tree functions should be disabled on all user interfaces or all user ports as pertains to a switch. You definitely want to enable root guard on Cisco equipment, or if it's not a Cisco type of environment, whatever pertains to that type of equipment that you're using. So the example here shows at a Cisco enable prompt the exact commands that you'd want to type in to enable that type of protection. Multicast brute force attacks. I'll just gloss over these pretty quick because it looks like we're shortening up on time here. We have a lot of slides to be able to run through for you. So multicast is basically in a class D. I don't think it is.
Check.
I think it is. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Multicast allows you to do one-to-many or many-to-many using a single packet that gets replicated throughout the network by your gear to be able to save on traffic. So what an attacker would do is spoof that in a rapid succession, a series of multicast frames. Frames when they leak into other VLANs if they're not set up properly. So the mitigation that you can use for these types of attacks are buy more capable switches. You could use the money that we put out into the crowd to do that. Or ensure that your layer 2 multicast packets are constrained within the ingress VLAN. So no packet should be able to leak across VLANs. You can check that with TCP dump, Wireshark, NetDude, pick your poison. The VLAN trunking protocol. So this has the ability to add and remove dynamically VLANs from the network. So all client VTP switches erase their VLANs once receiving the messages. The types of attacks you can do are sending VTP packets, delete all VTP VLANs, delete one VLAN, or add one VLAN. That's all run through a VTP server on the network, which should have its own VLAN and dedicated port. How do you mitigate against that? Well, make sure that the VTP traffic is definitely not going to user ports, only to the port that the server's been allocated.
Make sure if you're a consultant, you don't want to do those attacks, because you won't. You just be like, no, go home. As a matter of fact, we'll probably press charges because you're going to be doing a lot of bad stuff. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Back to you, Kev.
All right. So the next 3 attacks that I'm going to speak about is private VLAN, VLAN hopping, and 802.1q double encapsulation. Of course, we all know that private VLANs were meant to isolate traffic on a switch, and if they went from one switch to another, they would have to pass through a router that would be done on layer 3. So a couple of months ago, Anthony right here introduced me to this program called SCAPI, and once I learned that program, I was stuck in my seat for 3 days without moving, just wanting to learn all about this program. It's an incredible program. You could do anything you want to a packet, and when I say anything, anything you want to a packet. So about the same time, I acquired a client, and I was going through the internet, and I came across this picture. And this picture sort of looked like what my client had set up. They have a POP down in Lower Manhattan. Their main office was in Midtown, and satellite offices throughout the United States. So these satellite offices would log into this POP, which will then transfer the information through the different VLANs going to the headquarters office in Midtown. And one of them was HR, the other one was DMZ, and other departments within their company. So I decided to put a sniffer right here. And the traffic that I started receiving, I used regular Wireshark, nothing crazy or anything like that. I started picking up 802.1q packets, and in Wireshark, if you click on the 802 portion of it, it shows you what VLAN number that information's running on. So of course, because SCAPI is such a wonderful packet generating program, I started gathering more information about HR and gathering information about their DMZ and their security department and so on and so forth. I'll get back to this picture a little bit later because some stuff that I want to speak about before showing you this other picture and what I did with this VLAN, but please remember this picture. So the first thing is, back at this switch, they had a router here that I left out, but back at this router level, you should make sure that you configure your ingress filters for VLAN, so this stuff that I'm doing won't happen. And that's a brief command that you could set for your access list on the router. So now going on to the second portion of this is the VLAN hopping. So once I acquired this information off that switch that I was sniffing out, I started using SCAPI and spoofed that switch. And with SCAPI, you can actually go and fool the switch into thinking it was itself or however you wanted to do it. So this switch right here is that piece right there. So once I was able to gather all the information about these different VLANs, and of course the VLAN IDs are changed just in case if you try to go back to the old client. But I set up my laptop on this, put it on the switch, and once I started acquiring that information, I started getting HR information that I shouldn't have, stuff about their DMZ that I shouldn't have, and definitely a lot of information on their marketing and accounting with their other VLANs. So I use SCAPI to go and fool and change the packet of the 802.1q. I got another slide on that in a second. But just to try to, the next piece I want to talk about is how to prevent VLAN hopping from happening. Of course, disable auto trunking. I don't know why people leave auto trunking enabled unless they're really lazy. The next one is ports that are not being used, shut them down. Another one is explicitly configure your trunk ports on a switch. If you have auto trunking enabled, you can totally switch the information onto a port that isn't disabled. And last but not least, don't use VLAN 1. So this is the last piece of the three pieces that I was speaking about, and to me this is the most important piece, because if you double encapsulate a packet, you could easily trick some of the switches. And do a lot of people in here know about VLANs and things like that, or just for the first time?
Of course, they're in IT.
A lot of IT people don't. But inside a packet, there's a VLAN ID number, and that extends the packet a little bit more out to have that information inside there. The next thing is when it jumps from one switch to another, those packets will have a 802.1q tag, and that tag will also have the VLAN ID information. And while sniffing out on Wireshark, I was able to acquire, and that's how I was able to go into these other VLANs. This is the interesting part that I wanted to show people. So this was me right here being the attacker, and of course I used SCAPI. And what I did was I took this packet right here, and in SCAPI I just created 2 double encapsulation packets. So this number 7 right here is one VLAN ID, which was a bogus one that I just used, and this was VLAN number 27. So using SCAPI, I took this 802.1q tag, which was the first one, and I made that one 7, and this one 27. So I send information to this switch. The switch automatically strips off the 802.1q. But because there's 2 of them, it's not going to strip both of them off. It's only going to strip one off, leaving the other one there. And I wanted to go and attack this one. So once it stripped it off, it still had the tag. It sent it off to the other switch. And switch 2 assumed that switch 1 put that one in there. By then, it just passed the traffic, and I was able to go and target that machine and do what I had to do after that. So in order to ensure that this doesn't happen, of course, I was just informed a couple of days ago that there's a new iOS that stops double encapsulation packets. If anybody has information on that, please give it to me. I want to test some stuff out against that. The next thing is don't use native VLANs to ensure assigning onto ports. And last but not least, force all packets that go over the trunk port to have at least a tag. And like I said, there's a iOS, I believe, that stops the double encapsulation, but I'm not too sure, and I want to do more research on that one. And last but not least, VMPS. Now, does anybody in here use VMPS at their office? No, okay, that's a good thing. This can really, they say this is supposed to be safe and everything, but this can really damage a network from within. And the reason why is most important is a lot of this information being passed through the switches is clear text. So if it isn't encrypted or anything like that, and it's clear text, God knows what can happen after that. And also, it's sent over UDP. So if you have like some TFTP client and the information, someone new comes in with a laptop and they get access to go onto this VLAN, it automatically, if they have their TFTP server on the switch, it sends that information, updates the VMPS policy, and automatically puts that person in. So if I was an attacker and I just go to Office, go right ahead and try to log in. If this VMTP, if they don't have it set up correctly, it'll issue me on, and I'll be able to get onto a VLAN. Of course, most companies try to set it up and aggregate it that new people coming into the company or anything have to go through certain things, but as for what I did to this client, they didn't, and because of a lot of misconfigurations, I was able to go and attack this. There's a mistake up here on this. This is supposed to be VQP, but
sorry about that.
It's okay, thank you. I'll catch you afterwards. By the way, we're brothers for real, so. The first thing is don't transmit QP information unless it's going to be on an outer bandwidth. And the second thing is if you are going to implement VMPS, then you probably have the resources and capabilities to go and monitor this stuff. So that's pretty much the only thing for VMPS. And if you don't have to use it, then don't use it at all. And to wrap it up, the final thing is these are a couple of solutions in order to prevent all these attacks from happening. And one of my most important and favorite thing is this right here. Select using SNMP as a threat for a community string, and treat it like a root password. A lot of people don't treat this like that, and so much information can be passed through here that can make your network very, very open and exploitable. So it's quite important that you treat those community strings like root passwords. And I don't want to go off and reading off on a tangent like that, but these are pretty much all the mitigating things to prevent these from happening. This is open up for questions. And
hold on, go to the next slide one sec.
This
is our
wait, hold on. You could put that one in, but you can't change my changes, right? I got you on that.
All right, this is our website, guys, and emails. You could definitely send us an email, definitely answer some questions, as well as, I know if you go to my site, our site over here, MAF, I'll probably have it up, as well as KNT. You putting that up too?
Yeah, I'll definitely have. My website is KNT International Consultant. Email address hopefully by tonight or tomorrow night, I'll have more information up there posted. And so you can download the presentations. I also have like a 97-page white paper. I didn't want to put that up, but it'll be up on the site. You can download it off of there.
I made another mistake. I forgot to put his website. What is it? Ironguard.net.
Nice.
Ironguard. It's up there? Ironguard.net. I'm sorry about that, Anthony. But that'll be posted up tonight. So you guys could download the presentation tonight around maybe 10 o'clock if you guys want to have it. And one thing I wanted to add on this, definitely go to your bosses or go to the people that make decisions and show them this presentation, because it makes a difference. It gives you a little leverage that you can say, hey, look, you're vulnerable.
Does anybody have any questions? No, you do not get any questions at all.
No.
Not you. You come to my house and ask me questions. Don't answer them here.
Where's his cables?
I just want to be clear. All of the vectors that you were just talking about are all local, right? They require physical access to the switch. So the Metasploit stuff you were talking about something remote.
You want to answer?
Well, in order to start the piece of the attack, you have to be able to go onto the switch, but there is ways of passing firewalls, SCAPI. With SCAPI, you could pin any firewall you want, anyone. It doesn't matter what it is.
But
once you bypass all that, yes. Where do you live at?
Yeah, like
just
he's
a
gonna answer that.
And I'll tell you where I live at. You bring up something valid. That's why I bring this up. Oh, okay. I live in the Bronx and I have Cablevision. Cablevision does the same exact thing. Did everybody get to hear what he said?
Here you go.
Give him a mic. Let everybody know the question again.
So I live in lower New York, southeastern New York, so I have Time Warner Cable. So you ever wonder that if you have your computer connected to a Linksys router, or whatever router it is, and it goes back to cable, you see that cable modem light just lighting up all the time. And that's all that ARP traffic, everyone looking for IP addresses or the routers and switches saying, who got this IP address? Who got this IP address? And maybe my neighbor annoyed me because they had a party late the other night, but I know they used the internet. There's my man-in-the-middle attack, so there you go.
Okay. So once again, I live in the Bronx, and what he brought up was a total valid point. So when I first got my cable into the house, I was like, oh, yes, I got 3 megs down. This is awesome. you know, and all of a sudden my 3 megs went to like 1.5, and I'm wondering why, you know, and it's because everybody on my block around the same time between like 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock at night, everybody loves to jump on the internet. So we only have one pipeline on the block that shoots out to everybody's house individually, and if all that traffic keeps going up and down a pipe like that, we could pretty much assume what's going to happen next, especially when I have annoying neighbors, so they don't get access to internet that much sometimes.
Yeah.
But it could totally happen, so we just decided let's get our own business line into the house, and we'll have our 3 megs down for torrents or something, and use our regular bandwidth for all our other things, you know?
The good torrents, right? Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes?
Can you elaborate some more about why it's not a good idea to use default VLAN?
If I was an attacker and I wanted to go and hit VLANs and didn't have any information about any VLANs that were on a network, which one do you think I'm going to try first? I'm going to start off with 1. It's the best way to start. And if you have VLANs, like say VLAN 1 on a port, right? And you don't have it natively to the switch itself. If you have it on that one port and it's VLAN 1, you know, and there's delicate information or any servers and stuff like that, I'm gonna be able to compromise that right away. To me, the point of putting these VLANs is to try to hide and isolate the traffic on there so no one else can get access to it. So you want to treat that VLAN ID like gold. Well, gold's kind of down, so let's go with platinum. or oil at that. But, so, like I said, if I went on to that client, the first thing I did was hit VLAN 1. I know VLAN 1 has to be out. Unless they're really good, the majority of the times, you know, a lot of people wind up not choosing VLAN 1. And also because Cisco says so. Yeah, go right ahead.
Oh, we got a Cisco shirt. Oh, watch.
Yeah, 802.1q uses something called native VLAN. And unlike all the other VLANs, the native VLAN has no tag. So if there is a tag, right, so just like in your example where you have the 2 tags, right, if there is a tag, the second tag just looks like data to the first switch and is ignored by the switch. But if there's no tag, then the native VLAN is normally used. But if you have spoofed a tag and then sent it onto the native VLAN, right, so you're sending it over a connection that's not supposed to have a tag, but you've added one of your own so that the data was supposed to go over the native VLAN, but your spoof tag causes it to go over the VLAN of your choice instead. So that's a way of leaking over to another VLAN.
And also on what switch would that be? Because the higher switches prevent things like that from happening.
Yeah, and the default VLAN to use for the native VLAN is VLAN number 1.
Well, there you go, a Cisco guy saying use VLAN number 1, but I guarantee you that's not a good thing to do.
You said that's default, not recommended. There's a default password too, but they suggest changing it.
All right. Any other questions?
You get no questions. What part of that don't you understand?
Yes, sir.
You get to come to my house, you know, and you want to ask me questions here.
Go ahead, the gentleman.
Just to elaborate on what the Cisco guy just said there, if you set your switch port to non-negotiate, it won't send out DHCP packets, so it won't try to negotiate a trunk. If you send it anything with a tag, even though if you have 10 of them, it's going to see that and it's going to shut your switch port down because it's only an access mode. It doesn't want to see anything with a 4-byte header. The other thing you touched on with BTP, BTP is only transmitted over the native VLAN in the trunk. So if you set your native VLAN to something private, you can still use BTP. Just the thing you want to watch out for is revision number. If you add a switch to a network with a higher revision number than anything else in the same domain, every other switch in the domain automatically gets reconfigured. And it's a classic case is you configure something in the lab, you never let it talk to anything else. It's been up longer, it has a higher revision, you take the entire network down.
Now I have 2 questions for you now. First question is, what switch are you using? Second one is, what cat OS are you using? because that's the most important thing. That's why I made sure we said these were older switches that small businesses are still using today. Anything past 2001. All right. After the presentation, can we just pull off to the side? I definitely want to get more information about this. Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
Yes? A little bit. He's more of the
Yeah,
CDP
I was gonna say
man
we didn't do it on the attacks that we tried on. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah. You're right about that. Okay.
Okay. What do you, I was going to say, what are you using the CDP for?
Yeah.
Right. That's why we really say shut CDP off. If you, right. And that's why CDP is so, excuse my language, but shitty protocol.
No, I haven't. We didn't test it on there. Any other questions? I wanted to add something real quick. You know, the slides, the earlier slides, I noticed down in the lab downstairs on the switch they were using the 3650, was it? I know you could have ran the attack with EtherCap on that switch. So I hope you guys, a lot of you guys didn't check your email on the network. I don't know who goes to DEF CON here, but there's a wall of sheep. So I know if you check your email, you know, on these networks, you'll be on the wall of sheep.
After the talk, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you're talking about. You was blasting our poison all day, huh? Yeah. Uh-huh.
There you go.
So you
now
see,
you know why this is still relevant
Yeah.
today.
So, any other questions? All right, guys. We'll definitely speak. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming.